Today we shall be looking at this problem under trigonometry. The problem says, obtain the values of theta between 0 degrees and the 360 degrees such that I tan theta is equal to negative half. Okay, before we solve this problem, let's look at the quadrants. We have where we have four quadrants. In the first quadrant, all the trigonometric identities are all positive. And in the second quadrant, only sine is positive. And in the third quadrant, only tan is positive. Finally, in the fourth quadrant, only cosine is positive. Okay, so in the question number I, it says that tan theta is equals to negative half. Okay, now the question is, which acute angle will its tan give us half? Let's forget about the negative first. Okay, let's just say tan inverse of 0.5, it will give us 26.57. Okay, it means that if you press tan 26.57 in your calculator, you are going to have 0.5, not negative. Now, for the fact that it is negative, we shall be checking this value under the quadrant where tan is negative. In the third quadrant, tan is positive, and in the first quadrant, tan is positive also. Therefore, in the second and in the fourth quadrant, tan will be negative. So the value of tan theta, the value of theta rather, will lie in between the second and the fourth quadrant. Okay, for the second quadrant, we have that theta is equal to 180 minus 26.57, which will give us 153.43 degrees. Therefore, if you press tan 153.43 degrees, it will give you negative half. Then there are also where another value of this theta will lie, and it will be on the fourth quadrant. So in this fourth quadrant, it's going to be theta is equal to 360 minus 26.57. Remember, the question says you should obtain the values of the theta between 0 degrees and the 360 degrees. The first one you have obtained it at the second quadrant, and the second one is at the fourth quadrant. So 360 degrees minus 26.57 degrees will give us 333.43 degrees. So this is actually the two possible values of tan theta between 0 to 360 degrees. And on a recap, in the first solution, we subtracted 26.57 degrees from 180 degrees simply because we solved at second quadrant. And first quadrant is 90, second one 90. 90 plus 90 is 180. Then in the second solution, we said 360 minus 26.57 because we said that tan will be negative at the fourth quadrant also. And the at the fourth quadrant rather. Then first quadrant, second quadrant, third quadrant is 270 plus the remaining quadrant is 360. So it's 360 minus the acute angle, which will give you 0.5. That is how we got the answer. Okay, in the second problem, it says sine theta is equal to 0.4305. Now, sine of what acute angle will actually give us 0.4305? With that, you are going to do sine inverse of 0.4305. When that is done, you are going to have 25.50 degrees. It means that if you press sine 25.50 degrees in your calculator, you are going to have 0.4305. Now, since it is positive and they say we should obtain the value of theta between 0 to 360 degrees, it means that it's going to lie in between this first quadrant and the second quadrant, simply because sine is positive at the first and second quadrant. That's our reason. And what we have here is positive 0.4305. Had it been it is negative, we should have considered the third and the fourth quadrant where sine is negative. Okay, so for the first quadrant, what we'll have there is theta is equals to 25.50 degrees. We are not minusing anything here. Then for the second quadrant, we are going to have theta is equals to 180 minus 25.50. which is equal to 154.50 degrees. So what it literally means is that if you press sine 154.50, you're going to have a positive 0.4305. Question number 3 says cos theta is equal to negative 1 all over root 2. So you follow the same procedure. I. So you say cos theta is equals to negative 1 all over root 2. So you say cos inverse of theta is equal to, you just say cos inverse of theta is equal to whatever it gives you. Remember, you're not going to include this negative. Just look for that acute angle that when you press its cos, is going to give you 1 all over root 2. And that is 45. So if you press cos 45, it will actually give you 1 all over root 2. Okay, for the fact that it is negative, let us now look at the quadrants where cos is negative, and it's simply the second and the third quadrant. So in the second and third quadrant, cos is negative, whereas cos is positive at the first and the fourth quadrant. Okay, having done this, let's look at the first place where it will be negative. That is for the second quadrant. And in that second quadrant, our theta there is going to be 180 minus 45 degrees. That is 135 degrees. It means that if you press cos 135 degrees, you're going to have negative 1 all over root 2. Okay, the second place where you're going to have this value again is at the third quadrant. So in the third quadrant, you're going to say theta is equal to the 45 degrees you have there plus 180, which is equals to 225 degrees. If you look at this, you actually see that it's not taking the same form like the other quadrants. In other quadrants, all you did was to minus from the bigger value of the quadrant, but this one, you plus your value with 180 degrees. Okay, for the question number 4, we have 2 cos 2 cos squared theta plus 7 cos theta plus 3 is equal to 0. Okay, you can say let cos theta be equal to x. If you substitute x for cos theta, you're going to have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3 is equal to 0. This is a quadratic equation, and you can actually solve this with calculator. If you want to learn how to solve this with calculator, you check the link of the video that is in the description section of this particular one you are watching now. So when that is done, you're going to have that x1 is equal to minus 0.5 and x2 is equal to minus 3. So looking at this, you see that we have two answers, but believe me that there is no trigonometric function that will give you anything above 1, both negative or positive. Therefore, the value of x2 is out. X1 is where our answer lies. And since you have x1 to be negative 0.45, it means that cos theta, which is equals to x, is something as negative 0.5. Now, what acute angle will actually give you cos value to be equal to half? That is the question. Okay, if you say cos inverse of a 0.5, it will give you 60 degrees. Therefore, cos 60 is exactly 0.5. Okay, for the fact that the answer is negative, where are those places where we can actually look for the value of our theta? There are the second quadrant and the third quadrant. And for the second quadrant, we are going to have that theta is equal to 180 minus 60, that is 120 degrees. And for the other quadrant, which is the third quadrant, we have theta is equal to 60 plus 180, that is 240 degrees. You can actually check this answer by substituting what you have gotten into this particular equation. If it gives you 0, then you know you are right. The last problem here says cosec 2 theta is equal to 5.7208. Okay, let's look at that. The question number 5, cosec 2 theta is equals to 5.7208. But don't forget that cosec 2 theta is equal to 1 all over sine 2 theta. They are the same thing. Therefore, you can just say 1 all over sine 2 theta is equal to 5.7208. Okay, that means I will not be wrong if I say sine 2 theta is equal to inverse of this value, which is 0.1748. Okay, it means that 2 theta is equals to sine inverse of 0.1748, and therefore 2 theta will give us 10.067. Okay, so there are two possible places where sine will be positive, and that is the first quadrant and the second quadrant. So in the first quadrant is going to be theta, or rather 2 theta is equals to 10.067, and for the second quadrant is going to be 2 theta is equals to 180 minus 10.067, which is equal to 169.933. So if you substitute this answer in place of 2 theta in any of these two equations, you are going to have 5.7208. Thank you for watching this YouTube video. If it was really helpful, please make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, like this video, and share it to as many friends as possible.